Welcome to Backbone Unlimited. My name is Matt Hartsky. In this episode, we're cutting through the noise today. No hype, no fillers, no overproduced how-to reels, just raw, uncut, experience-based advice for one of the most demanding and misunderstood seasons in Western big game hunting, archery elk season. If you've got a tag in your pocket this fall and your plan involves a bow, this one's for you. Because the truth is, archery elk hunting will humble you. It doesn't matter how many videos you've watched, how much gear you've bought, or how fired up you felt during the bugle fest in your dreams. Out there in the timber, in the dark, in the silence, in the storm, you either adapt or you go home with a story instead of a bull. And I don't want you to come home empty-handed this year. So in this episode, I'm laying out everything I wish someone would have told me 33 years ago when I started chasing bulls with a bow. No fluff, no hacks, just the real stuff that actually matters. We'll talk about mindset, movement, setups, thermals, calling, and the difference between getting close and getting a shot. If you're ready to go deeper than surface level tips and actually understand how to hunt bulls with a bow on public land, then buckle in because this might just change the way you hunt. Bow hunting elk is a mental game, and it starts before you even leave the truck. If there's one thing I've learned from more than 3 decades of bow hunting elk, it's this. You don't beat elk with gear. You beat them with grit. You beat them with discipline, patience, and the ability to keep showing up long after most guys have tapped out. And that all starts in your head. Bow hunting elk is a mental game long before you ever nock an arrow. I don't care how fast your bow shoots or how sharp your broadheads are. If your head's not in it, if your attitude breaks down the second you hit resistance, you're done before the hunt even starts. I've seen it year after year. Guys show up dialed in physically, loaded with brand new gear, jacked up to bugle their lungs out, and by day 3, they're dragging. They're second guessing everything. Their confidence is gone. Their decisions start slipping, and all that preseason excitement turns into frustration. Why? Because they didn't build their mind the way they built their pack list. They didn't prepare for the reality that archery elk hunting isn't just hard. It's brutally inconsistent. One day you might see 5 bulls before 9 a.m. The next 3 days, nothing. Not a sound, not a track, not even a busted twig. And if you don't have the mental endurance to keep pushing through that silence, to keep hunting smart, even when it feels like the woods are empty, then it doesn't matter how ready you felt walking away from the truck that first morning. Mental toughness isn't just about being motivated. It's about being clear-headed and steady even when the plan falls apart, which it probably will. It's about waking up on day 5 with sore legs, a bad wind forecast, and no elk in sight, and still lacing up your boots like it's opening morning. That kind of mindset doesn't happen by accident. It's built, it's trained, and the most effective way I know to train is by embracing deliberate discomfort in the off season. Long hikes with a heavy pack, early mornings, cold plunges, days where you don't want to work out, but you do it anyway. Every time you voluntarily suffer a little, you build the same muscle you'll need in the field, the ability to stay in it when it's hard. So before we even get into tactics, calling, setups, or movement, check your head. Ask yourself if you're mentally prepared to go days without hearing a bugle and still hunt like there's a bull behind the next tree, because that's the price of success in bow season. You don't just need confidence, you need commitment. And when it comes to archery elk, those two aren't the same thing. Now, getting close isn't good enough. Shot opportunity is everything. A lot of bow hunters come home from elk season saying, man, I had a great hunt. I was in elk all week, which is awesome, right? That's what it's all about. I get it. That feels great. You saw bulls, heard bugles, maybe even had one at 50 yards staring through the trees. That's awesome. It's what we live for. But let me say this clearly. Being close means nothing if you don't get a shot and your goal is to kill. Archery elk hunting isn't about proximity, it's about position. It's about angle, it's about timing. It's about the 5-yard window when a bull turns broadside, takes one step, and gives you that perfect lane. That is the only moment that matters. The problem is, many hunters think they're doing great because they're close. They feel the adrenaline, they see antlers, they go home pumped that they almost got it done. And next, they repeat the same mistakes over and over again. So we're not talking about the enjoyment and what we get out of it here. We're talking about getting shot opportunities, not just encounters. You can do everything right and still never get a shot if you don't understand how to manage that last 40 yards. And that's where many guys fall apart. Here's what I mean. You call a bull into 60 yards, but he hangs up behind a tree and you never adjust your position. You sneak into a herd bedded in a timber pocket, but you can't get an angle without making noise and you freeze instead of circling to create one. You wait too long to draw because you're unsure and the bull's already passed through the lane. All of those are avoidable mistakes, but they're made by hunters who think being close is the win and haven't prepared to seal the deal. It's not. The win is the shot, the clean, ethical, clear shot. So when I'm bow hunting, my mindset is always, how do I set this up to create a shot? Not just, how do I get close? And that means a few things. I'm always moving with purpose. If I have a bull working in, I don't just freeze. I'm looking to reposition, left, right, forward, whatever I can do to get the angle that sets me up. I visualize the shot window before I make the move. If I don't see a shot lane, I don't commit. And if I'm stuck, I back out and find one. I let the bull make the final move. If I can't get to him clean, I set up in a spot where he'll cross into a lane on his own. He makes the mistake, and I'm already at full draw when he hits that opening. And this next point might sting a little, but it needs to be said. If you've had multiple close encounters over multiple seasons and you're still not killing bulls with your bow, you're probably too passive in that final 60 seconds. Getting within 40 yards of a bull is hard, but sealing the deal, that takes confidence, preparation, and decisive movement. So if your goal is to notch a tag, not just trade bugles or take cool videos, then stop chasing encounters and start hunting for shots. That's the difference between almost and heck yeah, baby. Don't let the calling game wreck your hunt. Here's what actually works. Calling elk is where the wheels fall off for many new bow hunters. I see it every single year. Guys go all in on bugles, lip balls, chuckles, location calls, and every YouTube sequence they've ever heard. They rip through their calls like they're auditioning for a competition, and they're shocked when every bull shuts up, turns, and disappears. Let me give it to you straight. You don't need to sound like an elk calling champion to kill bulls. I've said it in many videos now. You need to sound like an elk that makes sense in that exact moment, in that terrain, in that pressure zone, with that herd dynamic. Calling is powerful, but if you don't understand when to call, where to call from, and why a bull would respond, then your calls are just noise. Let me break down what I feel works the majority of the time. Location bugles are tools, not magic wands. I use location bugles sparingly. I'm not out there screaming every 5 minutes hoping something talks back. If the terrain allows it, I'll climb to a high ridge early in the morning, let out a clean location bugle, and then listen. No response? I move. Still nothing? I change elevation or cross into the next drainage. My bugle isn't the play, my feet are in this case. If I do get a response, I don't just charge in and start calling like a madman. I slow down, I read the wind, I assess the terrain, I figure out if that bull is with cows, if he's moving, or what his tone tells me. Sometimes all I need is that single bugle to start building a play without ever saying another word to him. Cow calls have their place, but only when they make sense. Here's the deal. Bulls don't just come running to cow calls for fun. If he's with cows already, why would he leave them to come find a solo cow that sounds lost? Now, if you're in close and that bull is fired up, a soft cow call can be the finishing move. But just walking through the woods cow calling every 50 yards, you're more likely to educate elk than to bring one in. I use cow calls in tight, in cover, when I know there's a chance that bull is right over the ridge. 1 mew, 2 max, then I wait. And I'm watching for movement, not just trying to focus on what sound I'm going to throw back. The best call you'll ever make is silence. I've killed a lot of bulls by saying nothing. I locate them with glass, or I get in the right spot. I sneak into position with the wind in my favor and I ambush them. No calling needed. If you need help with this, check out my video on hunting transition zones. It's gold. And if I'm in an area with heavy pressure where bulls have already heard every diaphragm note known to man, I'm leaning towards stealth and movement over sound. When I do call, it's with purpose, not impulse. Every bugle or mew has to answer this question. What do I want the bull to do, and why would he do it? If I can't answer those questions, I don't call. Know when to call and know when to kill. The biggest calling mistake I see is guys calling when they should be drawing. A bull is walking in. His head's behind a tree, and instead of getting to full draw and prepping for the shot, they hit the cow call again and stop him in the wrong spot, or worse, spook him. You need to recognize when the calling phase is over. You've done your part. Now it's time to shoot. That transition is everything. Don't call the bull all the way in and then blow the shot trying to keep him talking. Your mouth calls don't kill elk. Your broadheads do. Your setup will make or break the shot. Position is everything. You can do everything right. Call in a bull, time the wind, close the distance, and still lose the encounter because of one mistake. You set up in the wrong spot. I don't care how good your calling sequence is. If your setup doesn't give you a clean shooting lane, if your feet aren't planted where you can draw without shifting, if the wind is swirling, or your back is wide open to a ridge line, you're setting yourself up to fail. Position is everything. The truth is, a lot of bow hunters freeze as soon as they hear a bull respond. They crouch next to the closest bush or tree thinking, he's coming, I better stop moving. But if you don't take 10 seconds to find a lane and get set up the right way, you're about to watch that bull hang up at 70 yards and turn away with no shot. Let me walk you through what I look for in a setup. Always have cover behind you, never in front of you. You want a tree, log, rock, or dark timber shadow behind you to break up your outline, not in front of you blocking your shot. A lot of people are always surprised to hear that I wear a lot of solid colors when I'm hunting, not necessarily camo, because I use the brush around me to break up my outline and I control movement. Too many hunters tuck in behind bush thinking they're hidden, but they're also completely restricted and don't have a shot when the bull comes. Elk have incredible peripheral vision, and they'll peg movement in a heartbeat. But if your silhouette is broken up behind you and your draw is smooth and slow, you are far less likely to get picked off even inside 40 yards, and you definitely have every open shooting lane available to you. Visualize the shot lane, then commit to it. Before I nock an arrow, I'm identifying the shot lane, not just hoping one appears. I look ahead and think, if he walks through that V in the trees, I've got 30 yards. If he comes left, I've got a quartering shot at 22. If I don't see a lane, I don't set up there. You get one shot, one chance in bow season oftentimes, so there's no wait for a better angle. If your position doesn't allow for a clean draw and a clean release, move before he gets there. Even if it costs you 30 seconds, it could be the difference between a freezer full of meat and another near miss. Anticipate the bull's route, not just his sound. One of the best things you can do is read the terrain and guess where that bull's feet are going to land. Is there a saddle he's heading toward, a wallow, a bench just off the ridge where they like to stage? Set up so that you're not directly in his path, but slightly off to the side. That lets you get the wind in your favor angle for a broadside shot, and avoid being in the direct line of sight as he approaches. If you're calling solo, this also means calling and then moving forward to set up ahead of the sound. If you bugle from behind a tree, move 20 to 30 yards past that spot to where you think the bull will go looking. Bulls often hang up where they last heard the sound. You don't want to be back there when it happens. If you can get a little bit closer, you're cutting that distance down. Use natural barriers to force the shot. Sometimes the best setup isn't where the bull is, it's where the terrain funnels him into range. I look for down timber, narrow trails, rock shelves, or thick patches of cover that force a bull into my shooting lane. These features can stop a bull or at least influence his direction. If I can use the mountain to shape the encounter, I do it every time. That's the difference between hoping for a shot and engineering one. Closing the deal. Movement, draw timing, and the final 10 seconds. Everything you've done, every mile, every call, every decision has led to this moment. You're in range. You've got the wind. The bull is coming. Now what? This is where bow hunters either get it done or fall apart, and it usually comes down to three things: movement, draw timing, and execution under pressure. Let's start with movement. Move like you're already being watched. If you have to shift, rotate, or adjust as that bull gets close, treat every movement like you're already in his line of sight, because chances are you might be. Bulls don't always come straight in. They circle, often downwind. They pause. They approach from unexpected angles, and their eyes are scanning the timber long before they step into the open. One quick or jerky movement, and it's over. So if you need to turn, do it inches at a time. Look with your eyes before you turn your head. If you need to pivot your feet, do it while he's behind a tree or moving. Everything about your body language in that moment should say, "Nothing to see here." That goes double if you're wearing solid colors or if the sun is behind you, casting shadows that move across the forest floor. Elk notice that stuff. Number 2, get to full draw before the bull hits the lane. This might be the single most important timing decision you make all season. Draw before the bull steps into your shooting lane, not after. You want to be at full draw and settled, waiting for him to hit that mark. If you wait until he's standing there broadside, you're probably done. That draw movement is going to get you busted 9 times out of 10, especially if his eyes are scanning or if he pauses to check his surroundings. But here's the key. You have to commit. Don't draw too early and hold for 90 seconds until you're shaking. Don't draw too late and have him walk through the lane before you're ready. Draw at the moment he's either behind cover, about to step into your lane, or walking steadily with his head and eyes occupied. And once you're drawn, that's it. There's no second guessing, no letting down and trying again. You're locked in and ready to take that shot. Ideally, we got to do what we got to do. Don't rush the shot, even in the chaos. This is where your heart is racing, your breathing is heavy, your mind is screaming, take the shot, because you don't want to lose the opportunity. But this is also where you need to be your most composed and controlled. Pick your spot, settle your pin, exhale, and only release when everything feels right. No guessing. You've trained for this. You've visualized this. Don't let the pressure force a bad shot. One clean arrow beats a rushed one every single time. And if something feels wrong, if the angle isn't right, if there's a limb in the way, if the bull turns, let down. That's the sign of a real hunter, maturity, a disciplined one. And believe me, passing a bad shot builds more confidence long term than forcing a marginal one ever will. If this episode helped sharpen your mindset or gave you something real to work with for your next elk hunt, I want to invite you into something deeper. Team Backbone isn't just a discount club or a place to grab some gear. It's a crew of serious hunters who train hard, think critically, and live relentlessly. Inside the membership, you'll get access to exclusive mindset training, backcountry hunting strategy, gear breakdowns, fitness programming, and the kind of tools that actually help you perform better when it counts. You're also going to get 20% off site-wide, a member-only t-shirt shipped every month that you can't buy anywhere else, access to the private group where you can ask me questions directly and connect with other driven hunters, entry into our monthly gear giveaways, and direct call, text, or email access to me for personalized support on your hunt, training, or backcountry planning. If you're ready to go beyond free tips and start living this lifestyle full send, you'll find Team Backbone at backboneunlimited.com. Look for the membership tab and join us in the inner circle. I'd be proud to have you with us. Thanks for being here. Until next time, train harder, hunt smarter, and never settle.